Shalom, shalom, family. Hey, welcome to Faith by Works. Right, all praises be unto the Most High God for another week, man, to come together and to study the Most High God's holy and divine word. Welcome to Faith by Works, where we study a commandment week in and week out to further perfect our walk with the Most High God. Right, Lord willing, everybody's doing well, doing good in the spirit. Right, if not, send in your prayer requests. Right, if not, throw up some fast. Right, lean on your brother, lean on your sister, because in these end times, man. Right, things is getting more crazier and crazier, and it's important that we do the works in order to perfect our spirit, right, and to move in uprightness. Right, so let's get straight into it. Right, let's get the book of Colossians chapter 3 and verse 17. And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Yahweh Shai, giving thanks to God and the Father by him. So everything that we do is by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Right, everything that we say with our lips and everything that we put our action towards, let it be done to glorify the Most High God by way of His Son. So that's why in the Paleo Hebrew we say, "Call Halal Yahweh by Hashem wa Malak Yahweh Shai," which means giving all honor and glory to the Most High God by way of His Son, who the Word ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This is the book of James, chapter 2, and verse 14. What does it profit, my brethren, though a man say he have faith and have not works? Can faith save him? Right. So this whole entire chapter is going into faith and your works. Right. How when you don't put forth your works, right, um, um, towards having that faith in the Most High God by way of His Son, right, you further show yourself as to have, you know, a dead understanding, a dead walk. All right. You're supposed to have it simultaneously done. All right. Faith and works have to be done together. Right. When you put forth works, you have to make sure that your faith is the reason why you're putting forth those works. And you prove your works by having that faith, that belief in the Most High. Right. Verse 18, right? It says, "Ye a man say, Thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works." Right. So it's more than just saying it. It's more than just, just hey, I love the Lord, I believe in the Lord, I have a relationship with him. It's more than that. It's about proving it with your actions, man. It's about having and showing that love is an action word. Right. So what is the commandment and what is the truth of the week? Right, is to be an example, and to actually practice what you preach. Right. We have a younger generation before us that's growing up and they're always observing us. Right. And it's important that we actually exercise what it is we teach. All right. So that they may, take the torch and actually show their children's. And it'll be a beautiful generational thing of serving the Lord indeed and in truth. Right. And there's going to always be a time where the Most High God is going to put you in position to, right, to actually practice what you preach. Right. There's going to be a time where you're going to have to, where your faith is going to be tested. It's going to be a time where, you know, um, um, that you have to observe the dietary law. Right. It's going to be times where you're going to be in a position where, a lot of folly is going on and you got to, abstain from eating certain meats. Right. With every commandment that you teach, the Most High is going to put you in position to actually practice that. You understand? So we have to practice what we teach and be an example that has been set forth for us. What is that example? Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 21. It says, "For hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye should follow in his steps." Right. So that example is Christ. And in these last days, we should be mimicking him as much as we can. All right. The best way we can. All right. And lastly, to further drive home the commandment of the week, all right, we're going to get two precepts. We're going to go with 1 John 3 and 18. It says, "My little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth." Right. And then I got 1 Timothy 4 and verse 11 through 12. It says, "These things command and teach. Let no man despise thy youth, but be thou an example of the believers in word and conversation, in charity," which means love, "in spirit, in faith, in purity." Right? So be an example and practice what you teach. I yield there, King. You got it.
Come on, King. Hey, mighty introduction as always. And all praise to the Most High, we're able to do this again for another week, right? All through the mercy and grace of the Most High God through His only begotten Son, right? Hey, mighty topic, by the way, that you wanted to go into, because honestly, it's one of those things that we kind of been teaching all along, truth be told, right? Faith by works, right? And in this particular week, it's all about just basic not being a hypocrite, because the Lord hates hypocrites, right? The portion of a hypocrite is to be abased at the end of the day, right? When it's all said and done, all hypocrites are going to have their part in the lake of fire, right? So what do we want to do? We want to make sure that not only are we hearing the word, but we're doing the word, and we're staying therein, and we're being as here. Let's see the classic that we bring out all the time, right? Book of Jeremiah, chapter 17. Start at verse 7. It says, "Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Most High, and whose hope the Most High is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit." Right? We want to be those trees, right? Those trees of righteousness, right? According to what? Isaiah 61. And I believe that's what verse 3, 4. Right? We want to be those trees of righteousness, right? Whenever trouble comes our way, we want to be able to stand, right? And we want to yield that fruit, right? That the Most High God has given us, right? We want to shine that light that He's commanded us to shine, right? And we don't want to sully the ministry, right? By telling people, hey, y'all got to do this, that, and the third, this, that, and the third, or the Lord gonna kill you, right? And then turn around and go do the opposite of what we just kind of shook the hand, right? So let me get this real quick. Book of First Corinthians. And forgive me, I'm using a new sword, so I'm flipping kind of slow, right? Chapter 9. I'm gonna get straight to the point, right? Because at the end of the day, this is all a journey that we're on, right? We can't be what instantaneous Israelites, right? We can't have that mindset. And a lot of our people have that mindset. Hey, I may be falling short now, but when that day comes, when I see it coming, hey, I'm just gonna flip on, right? And just do everything right. No, we can't do that, right? We this is not a sprint, it's more of a marathon, right? And in that marathon, what does Paul say? This book of First Corinthians chapter 9, starting at verse 24. It says, "Know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run that ye may obtain." Right? You can't sit there at the starting line and expect to be holding up a gold medal at the finish line while everybody else is running and you just chilling, right? No, you have to be doing this work. You have to be striving constantly to what? Grow, right? We had the saying in the world, if you're not growing, what? You're shrinking, right? If you're not living, you're dying at the end of the day, right? Verse 25. "And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things," right? Meaning, hey, you got to focus on the details as well, right? You can't just kind of half-ass your run, right? You got to make sure you're breathing right, right? You got to make sure your stride is right? You got to make sure that kick is strong, right? I'm using track terminology. I don't know if people can tell, right? But these are all things that you have to make sure that you're fine tuning, right, as you go throughout this race, right? It says, "Now they that do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. If therefore so run, not as uncertainly, so fight I, not as one that beateth the air," right? These things that we do, right? Where it comes to what? Reading on a daily, right? Exhorting our people, praying, fasting, examining ourselves, right? What was that? 2 Corinthians 13 and 5, right? All these little things that we do to fine tune our spirits and fine tune our walks, hey, they're not for nothing. They're not vain, right? At the end of the day, they are melding together this new man, right? And most high willing, with that spirit of sincerity, if we have that sincere heart towards doing these things, right, the spirit of the most high is going to quicken it, right? And he's going to pull it all together to where at the end of the day, what we can receive that incorruptible crown, right? But here's the point, verse 27 says, but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway, right? Do not be a hypocrite, right? We sit here and rebuke each and every day, right? Especially on the highways and hedges, right? But how foolish will we look if the things that we're telling people not to do, we're steady over here doing? The things that we're telling people they have to do, we're not doing it, right? All of these things have to be in the back of our minds, right? As we run this race, as we partake in this journey, right? With that, I yield.
King, mighty points, right? We need to be in these last days trying our absolute hardest to not be that hypocrite that the brother was saying, right? Not just saying righteousness, but living it, right? Which is gonna lead me to a couple precepts here, and then I'm gonna pass it back to you. I remember I was pulling up to work, right? And my brother had told me, hey man, be an example. I had pulled up, I was jamming my music. Sometimes heading into the plantation, you jamming your music, you know what I'm saying? You need like some type of pick me up because you're really not excited to go clock in on the plantation. So you need some type of pick me up. So you listening to all kind of your workout playlists, you listening to something that's upbeat that's going, kind of amp you up. And I had it up pretty loud and everything like that. I'm getting my stuff together, put my vest on, about to, head in to clock in. He was like, man, be an example. And he was absolutely right. Right. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 5, and verse 16. It says, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father, which is in heaven. Right. And in doing so and glorifying the Lord, which is in heaven, your good works, the way you present yourself, the way you move, just think about how it looks when, you doing all of this in fringes, you moving about in a certain manner. It's important that you present this truth and you represent this ministry, right, in the correct way. Simplistically putting, right? You gotta be that example, right? You make it, you lessen the chances of somebody listening to you and really hearkening onto this truth when you're raving in the streets and you're doing stuff that you would do that was in the world, basically. Get one more. Let me see. I'm gonna go to the book of Psalm, chapter 78, and I'm gonna start at verse 5. It says, for he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children, that they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments and might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that set not their heart aright and whose spirit was not steadfast with God. Right. So we must live out what we teach so that, so that the generations to come will practice it. Right. Because we are definitely being observed by the youth. Right. A lot of us, we got sons, we got daughters, we got nieces, nephews. Right. And we got brothers and sisters who, who has a zeal to serve the Lord, but not according to knowledge. And we're trying to give them breadcrumbs and bring them into this thing. So how we present this truth, how we represent this ministry, and how important it is for us to understand we're being observed and watched is very, very something. It's very, very important. It's very, very, I can't stress it enough, man. It's we got to consider that. We definitely got to consider that in these last days, right? When you live in righteousness, it destroys the darkness everywhere you go. You understand? Like it's kind of like walking with a flashlight. Everywhere you point that flashlight, darkness leaves. You understand? And that's how we're supposed to be moving in this truth. Understanding that when we move and we walk into a room, like all of the cigarettes need to get put out, right? All of the gossip should stop, right? Out of reverence unto the Lord, it's like, okay, that's an upright brother. Let me put this out. It's kind of like when we holding camp and somebody walks up, they smoking a cigarette, right? Your righteousness and you letting your light shine, they should want to put that stuff out. Like, hold on, the Bible coming out. We often will see Jake take his hat off after a while, having great reverence unto the light that we're shining, which is Christ. You understand? That's how we should be moving in this truth, right? Not only saying righteousness, but actually living it. Because why? We're being observed, and because it's important that we don't see ourselves as a hypocrite. I yield there, King. You got it.
Gone, mighty point. I'm actually land me back off that, right? Because not only are we shining our light and being an example to our people, right, our young ones following after us, right? Hey, we're showing forth this ministry to the heathen at the end of the day, right? Salakia, trying to get a different translation. Boom. We're showing off this ministry to the heathen and to our people that don't believe, right? To our people that are not in the truth, right? We see them on a daily, whether it be at the plantations, right, or whether it be at the gym, at the grocery store, right? Our people that don't know who they are, right? But they see us with our fringes on, right? Sisters with their hair wraps and their dresses, and then they kind of wonder about it, right? And we kind of talk to them, right? But a lot of times their ears get stopped up because hey, I see how you live. Like everything that you tell me, right? I don't believe it, right? How much more of a light should we shine, right, to those people, right? Giving them a good example of what it is that we say that we believe in, what it is that we profess, right? This is the book of First Peter chapter 2, and I want to get it in the NLT real quick. This verse 12. It says, "Be careful to live properly among your unbelieving neighbors." I mean, you could drop the mic right there. You got to always think about the people that are looking at you, right? Oh, I know he don't celebrate Christmas, birthdays. Oh, he don't do this, he don't do that. He don't eat pork. No, he don't want to come around during Thanksgiving, right? But look at how he living, right? He drunk all the damn time, right? All he do is fornicate, right? I mean, that's a stain, right? The book of Ezekiel say, hey, when we go out to do the work, when we warn the people, right, and they don't hearken unto us, right, we done our job and we washed the blood off of our hands, right? Well, think about how much blood you still have on your hands when you're trying to so-called warn the people, but they're looking at how you live. You washing your hands with a faucet that leaks blood. Right? You just putting more blood on them hands at the end of the day, right? It says, then even if they accuse you of doing wrong, they will see your honorable behavior and they will give honor to the Most High when he judges the world, right? Understand that a lot of times our people not going to learn from you trying to teach them, right, with your words. They're going to learn from how you teach them with your walk, right? They're going to learn by the fact that you practice what you preach, right? That's going to tell them, hey, this person really believes what it is he's talking about. He's not just talking a big game, right? And belief, faith is one of the most major substances we have to grow in these last days. Because what is the Most High in the name of his only begotten Son looking for when he visits the earth, right? Faith. Righteousness through that faith, through that belief that he is, Because without faith, it is impossible to please him, pursuant to Hebrews 11, right? I'm going to jump down to verse 15, right? It says, it is the Most High's will that your honorable lives should silence those ignorant people who make foolish accusations against you, right? So the Most High wants us to put them to shame, right, by our good actions. Yahweh Shai tells us plainly, hey, when you do good to your enemy, what you heap hot coals over their head. At the end of the day, we can't live opposite of what it is that we're professing, because all that does is cast a stumbling block for our people, put more blood on our hands, right, and displease our maker. Verse 16, for you are free, yet you are God's slaves. So don't use your freedom as an excuse to do evil, right? And we see that a lot in Israel, right? A lot of Jakes, hey, I know the truth. Hey, I know the word. I'm better than you. I'm higher than you, right? Let me sell you this breakdown. Then a week later, you're going to catch me on Instagram stunting in this new G-Wagon I bought from selling all these breakdowns. This is not how we're supposed to live, right? I'm going to get one more and I'm going to pass it, Ken. I'm going to get two more, then I'm going to pass it, Ken. Real quick. It's the book of James, chapter 1 and verse 2. It says, my brother, encountered all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, right? We know that this walk is difficult, right? And we're going to get hit with all manner of things that kind of glimmer in our eye that's going to make us want to go off, right? We're supposed to count that as joy, right? Because the fact that we can identify it. I was talking to the brother. It was funny because no, we didn't talk about the lesson throughout the week, but we did have a real conversation that kind of applies here today. We was talking the other day on the phone when I was at the plantation. Man, the real gonna see this. I'm thinking about it. We was talking the other day, and I was like, man, I'm used to being at work and seeing all manner of candidates, if you will, right? I get to this new location, it's like, man, ain't none, right? In the last couple of months, it's like, for some reason, that whole narrative has flipped. Now they're everywhere, right? And it's no coincidence that, hey, brothers know I'm going through what I'm going through, right? It's no coincidence that now they are everywhere. No, that's Satan. That's Satan, right? That's more reason for me to, hey, just kind of keep my blinders on, right? And focus on what it is that I'm supposed to be doing, right? In accordance to the Most High's will. So I count it a joy when I can identify these things, right? And I can identify the temptations, right? So I can kind of straighten myself back up, right? Verse 3, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience, right? This is how my faith is being exercised, right? And not exercised in the sense of the exorcism, right? But exercise in the sense of, hey, my faith is bench pressing right now, right? It's becoming stronger because now I'm being able to resist these temptations, right? When people look at me and they know what I believe in, right? They see, hey, you have the ability to go do this, that, and the third, right? But you don't. Why? Because my faith is shining, right? And now I'm becoming more patient and waiting on the goodness of the Most High, right? But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing, right? If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of the Most High, that giveth to all men liberty and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea driven with the wind and tossed, right? whenever we come to the Most High God to ask Him of anything, right? We know the scriptures, right? We know this truth. We profess this truth, right? All of those things are meaningless if we're not fully and sincerely believing these things. And what shows that we fully and sincerely believe these things? Hey, we bring it out every single week, right? Those works that are behind it, right? That are showing that faith, right? The Most High God is not going to just get up just because you called on Him when you're in trouble. No. You have to have a pattern of good works, right? And those good works have to be done when people, even when people aren't looking, right? Because at the end of the day, the Most High is always looking. Verse 7, for let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. Again, he's not about to just get up because you said jump, right? He's the Most High God. We're less than a poop dropping from an ant to the Most High God. Put that into perspective. Verse 8, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, right? So again, not being a hypocrite, you have to practice the things that you preach, right? Because if you're preaching these things yet not practicing them, hey, you'll soon realize real quick that you're going to have trouble coming from all sides, right? Whether it be your spouse, whether it be your children getting out of order, right? Whether you catching hell on your job, right? Hey man, you say you can't work on Saturdays, but I mean, what do you do on Saturdays, right? All I see you do is post up on your Instagram how you're going out and doing this, that, and the third, and living it up on Saturdays. Well, we really need you here. You catching all type of hell because you're sitting here living as a hypocrite, being an unstable man, right? A double-minded man, Salat, with unstable ways, right? I was gonna get another one, Ken. For sake of time, no, I think I'm gonna yield right there.
Yeah, before you steal my precepts, man, I'm make sure I get mine in. It's all good. All praises unto the Most High God. They through the Spirit, brother, brought it out mighty, and made some mighty points, man. It's definitely important that we do hear the word and do it. You understand? We gotta not only be hearers but doers of the word, right? I'm gonna go to the book of Psalms, and we're gonna read chapter 1, right? Starting from the top, it says, "Oh," in the NLT. I like this. It's a lot plainer in the NLT. I'm gonna get it there. It says, "Oh, the joys of those who do not follow the advice of the wicked, or stand around with sinners, or join in with the mockers. But they delight in the law of the Lord, meditating on it day and night. They are like trees planted along the riverbank, bearing fruit each season. Their leaves never wither, and they prosper in all they do. But not the wicked. They are like worthless chaff, scattered by the wind. They will be condemned at the time of judgment. Sinners will have no place among the godly, for the Lord watches over the path of the godly, but the path of the wicked leads to destruction." So there's really with this chapter, you really see the contrast between walking uprightly, and being one of those hypocrites, not doing what you hear when you hear the word, not practicing what you preach, right? The hypocrisy has its reward. When we understand that blessed is the man that actually follows the Most High God's commandments and actually, put forth 100% effort in actually doing and applying it to his life, changing his life, right? I'm gonna get this one, James chapter 1, verse 22. It says, "But be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. Right? So being a hypocrite and actually hearing the word and not doing it, it's like you looking in the mirror and then walking away, forgetting your reflection, forgetting the reflection. But when you actually put forth in continuance that perfect law and applying it to your life, you're less forgetful of who you are and your current standing, right? You actually find yourself in the Most High God. You see your reflection in the Most High, right? So that's what's very, very important in not being a hypocrite is the change of your life, right? The influence of the Most High God on your life, right? When you not only hear his word, but actually do it, right? I'm gonna get a couple more and then I'll pretty much be finished. I turn it over to you. Don't just teach others, but actually apply it. Apply it yourself, man. We're gonna go to Christ real quick. Let's go to Matthew chapter 7. Let me get verse 15, then we're gonna go to 20 through 23. All right, verse 15 says, beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Verse 20, it says, wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. Not every one that saith unto me, Lord, 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 shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name? And in thy name cast out devils? And in thy name come to do many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew ye, depart from me, ye that work iniquity. So we have to understand, like the brother was going into, that pattern of good works is what's going to determine if we can get into the kingdom of heaven or not. But that pattern of hypocrisy, that pattern of hearing and not doing, and being like those Pharisees, that's what's going to get us that depart from me, ye that work of iniquity, from the Lord, right? Matthew chapter 7 and verse 24, it says, therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and the beat upon that house, and it fell not. So when you keep the commandments and you put forth everything in you to be not a hypocrite, but be an example and to practice what you teach, you're likened unto a building with a strong foundation. So when you go when you go up against affliction and when life throws all of the different trials and tribulations at you, you're still going to be standing after the storm. You're still going to be standing after the flood. You're still going to be standing, right, after all of these atrocities, because you stood firm in the Most High God's law, statutes, and commandments, and you were unwavering in his faith, right? Because you making sure that you're not a hypocrite and you practicing right and being upright, being that example, is going to strengthen that foundation. It's going to be likened unto you being founded upon a rock, right? A strong foundation. Not saying, right? Reading on, it says what? For it was founded upon a rock. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. So you want to make sure that your building doesn't fall. You want to make sure that you don't go reprobate. You want to make sure that you're going to be still standing in that day when the Lord comes back. And how do you make sure that your foundation is strong? Is by being not a hearer only, but a doer, practicing what you preach and being an example to the younger generation and investing in our future. I yield that, King. You got it. You can pretty much close this out. I'm finished.
Come on, King. Come on. All praise to the Most High, right? Just to kind of wrap it up, right? First and foremost, we do want to make the point that, hey, nobody's saying that you're going to get it all the way perfect 100% of the time. Nobody's saying that you're not going to go off, that you're not going to commit a sin, right? The point is that we are here during a dress rehearsal, if you will, right? It's the book of Judges, chapter 5 and verse 11. It says, they that are delivered from the noise of the archers and the places of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Most High. even the righteous acts toward the inhabitants of the villages in Israel, right? We are practicing these things, right? And you know the old saying, practice makes perfect, right? But there's also the other one, no pain, no gain, right? So we're going to fall on our behinds, if you will, right? We're going to fall short, right? But the classic precept in Proverbs 24, what does it say, right? Proverbs 24 and verse 16, it says, for a just man falleth 7 times and riseth up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief, right? So again, it's all about pattern recognition. That's the word of the day, patterns, right? A just man is going to have that pattern of good works, right? In his pattern, what he's going to have peaks and valleys, right? His peaks are going to look more like plateaus, and his valleys are going to look like spikes, right? So what does that mean, right? He's going to be doing the best to strive, right? And this background is kind of making it kind of, let me get close to the camera. He's going to be kind of doing his best to strive in uprightness, right? But he's going to fall, but he's going to get back up and keep striving. He may fall. He's going to get back up. What that's showing is that the majority of his time, right, he's been focused on doing the will of the Most High God. He may have a couple dips in there, right? But he didn't allow the amount of time he was dipped to equal or be greater than the amount of times where he stood up, right? Or she, right? It's not so with the wicked, right? It's not so with the hypocrite. The hypocrite is going to have those dips become valleys, right? So now instead of plateaus and dips, you got valleys and peaks, right? He may do something good every once in a while, right? But that's not really what's on his spirit, right? So we always have to make sure we understand the patterns that we're living in, right? And that goes through self-examination daily, right? Always thinking to ourselves, hey, did I do all that I could, right, to walk upright today, right? When we wake up in the morning, throw up that prayer. Hey, Most High, keep me as upright as I can possibly be today, right? And in these patterns, right, those are the things that show the Most High God what ultimately your belief, right? I'm gonna get this last point, and hopefully it kind of puts a bow on everything, right? Because what we labor for, that race, that incorruptible crown that we're looking for, that we brought out earlier, right? It's going to take the right type of pattern in order to get that. This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 4, and verse number 11. It says, let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief, right? We have to have that faith, that belief, right? In what? The Most High God, his only begotten Son, the kingdom of heaven, right? The wrath of the Most High, the lake of fire. We have to believe all of these things that are written in this report, right? And when we truly believe those things, hey, we're going to have that right pattern, right? But if we have unbelief in us, right, in which we all do, we all have some small amount of unbelief that's left in us, right? That's why, hey, a just man falleth 7 times, right? But if that unbelief is greater, again, the Lord say, if thine eye be single, to be full, the body be full of light. But if the light that is in is darkness, how great is that darkness, right? If that unbelief is greater than our belief, hey, then it's really high time that we do something about that we seek counsel, right? That we pray, that we fast, that we dive into the scriptures and really meditate on those things and really try to purge out the leaven that we have in us, right? Feast of Unleavened Bread is coming up. Perfect time to do so, right? Because that unbelief is something that we can't expect to continue in and get the kingdom of the Most High God, right? Because what does the Lord say? It's the book of Luke. And Salaki, I'm gonna get faster with this sword. I promise you, Most High will. Right? It's the book of Luke, chapter 12. And I'm gonna start at verse 42, right? And the Lord said, "Who then is that faithful and wise steward, whose his Lord shall make ruler over his household, to give them their portion of meat in due season?" Right? So who is this just man, this just woman, right, who's going to receive this kingdom? Right? Verse 43 tells you, "Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing." Right? Again, just to bring it back to the whole pattern thing. If your pattern is moving in wickedness and hypocrisy, right? What's the likely case scenario of what you're going to be doing whenever the Lord returns? On the flip side, if your pattern is walking in uprightness and practicing what you preach constantly, even when you think nobody's looking, what is the Lord likely to find you doing when he returns? Right? Verse 44, "Of a truth I say unto you, that he will make him ruler over all that he hath. And if that servant say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to beat the men servants and maidens, and to eat and drink and to be drunken, the Lord of that servant will come in a day when he looketh not for him, and at an hour when he is not aware, and will cut him in asunder, and will appoint him his portion with the unbelievers." That's the point right there, right? The unbelievers are not going to get that kingdom, that rest that we were just talking about in the book of Hebrews, right? So what is your pattern on? And again, we all have some smidget of unbelief. That's what makes us go off, right? So what should we be praying, right? What should we add to our prayers to the Most High God? That he obviously does something about that unbelief, right? So that when the Lord comes, he shall find us doing. This is the book of Mark, chapter 9. I'm just going to get straight to the point. Verse 24. I'm going to go back. Verse 23, right? Yahushua said unto him, "If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth." And straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears, "Lord, I believe. Help thou mine unbelief." Right? So yeah, we all believe, right? But that smidget that makes us go off, hey, we need to ask the Lord, hey, help us with that, right? Because we want to be perfect. The Lord commands us to be perfect, right? We don't want to be in a valley, much less a dip when the Lord returns, right? And with that, hey, I yield.
Khan, all praise unto the Most High God. Hey, Lord willing, somebody was edified or will be edified on a replay in the coming days, or as long as this video is up on this internet, right? We love you, Israel, and until next week, we say shalom.
Shalom.